Hi there, everybody. Welcome to My Strategy Tech Edition. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins. Today, we're going to be talking about an important topic. Companies need new technology to provide business value, but over time, those technologies become legacy and start to provide diminishing returns. So the question now is, what do organizations and companies do with that legacy technology? Well, the legacy technology we're referring to as technical debt for the sake of this podcast. So let's start with what are some of the values that new technologies can bring? Well, here's an example from Forbes, and it was from an article titled 10 Ways Digital Technology Has Helped Small Business. Some of the values of technology are IoT sensors, right? There's a cost savings aspect in using them. There's collaboration software, which improves communication, providing the ability to buy online. There's a convenience factor, but also automation and cost savings for the business. There's subscription services, which provide recurring revenue models, machine learning, which can provide personalization, and artificial intelligence, which provides customer-centric data. All right, the challenge is that this technical debt has low value, and it's low value technology. And these prior investments aren't going to be able to provide the features, functions, nor do they have the cost savings that the newer technologies may have. So the question is, what do we do with all of these low business value technologies? I took a look at McKinsey & Company, and they did a survey. This survey is from 2020, so it's a little bit dated, but I think it's still relevant. And they asked their respondents questions about technical debt. And as you can see here, there's two interesting things going on. Number one, technical debt has increased over the past 3 years for the respondents. The second piece of information is that less than 20% of the budget was being spent to resolve that technical debt. So we've got a situation where technical debt's increasing and they are not investing the monies needed to be able to retire that debt. Also part of the same study, technical debt accounts for 40% of the spend on the IT balance sheet, and almost 70% of the respondents use new project spend on debt. So question is, if you're spending money that's supposed to be used for new projects and innovation on debt, what is the net impact to the business? All right, so technical debt has a high cost. If the business needs to spend money that's earmarked for new project spend, but it's on debt and not innovation, companies can start to collect this technical debt, and they end up in not a good situation because they're not able to provide the innovation that's needed to compete in the marketplace, provide business value. So the question is, what can we do with this technical debt? And if we could free up that legacy technology or that technical debt, what would we be able to do with those valuable resources? And resources from the perspective of the people, process, and technology. Because there's not only a technology cost, but you have people that support the solutions process that's in place to support them as well. So it becomes a compounding effect with that technology. So I found this very interesting white paper on technical debt. It's called Technical Debt, Understanding, Managing, and Resolving It. I really like what the authors did here. We have Ashok Vasa and Galina Stancheva, who go through in depth their ideas about technical debt. They provide great information in terms of what it is, also how to manage it and resolve it. I've cherry-picked some of the content from that white paper for the sake of argument, but I do suggest that you go through and read the whole thing if you are interested in learning about technical debt. They go much more in depth than I can go on this podcast. So one of the things they do nicely is they identify and classify the technical debt. This makes sense, right? If you're going to have debt, what type of debt is it? And they said here that we've got the 4 different kinds. There's the deliberate, accidental, atrophy, and historic technical debt. So what type of debt does the business or organization have? The next important thing that I picked up from the paper is how do we assess the impact of the technical debt and the metrics? And from my perspective, this is incredibly important because we want to not only know, we know there's technical debt out there, but what is the impact of that technical debt on the business or organization? They also suggest that we take a look at technical debt metrics, performance metrics, and business metrics. And I think this is really smart because it's going to provide a more well-rounded view of the current situation. Another key point that I took away from this paper is to calculate the principal and interest of technical debt. And I love this because here they are saying that not only do we need to assess and figure out what the technical debt is, but also they're taking a look at the cost of the interest on the debt, the risk of the debt, the time span of the debt, and more. And I think that's going to really help you in providing a solid and sound business case. They also talk a little bit about things that we need to do in a step-by-step approach, which is 1, identify technical debt items, estimate the initial cost, estimating ongoing costs, calculate the total cost, and then prioritize and address technical debt. I love step 5 because step 5 to me is all about action. And it's one thing to come up with a strategy and plan, but I love the fact that they are talking about, in this particular case, an action plan, because I think at the end of the day, we can talk about the debt and the problem, but if we don't have an action plan to resolve it, it's not going to do us much good. The paper goes on to also talk about developing KPIs, roles and responsibilities with a debt paydown plan. KPIs and metrics, that is so important. We need to be able to understand from a data-centric approach, using a data-centric approach, what is the impact of this technical debt. Roles and responsibilities. Well, this leans on the target operating model and what does the organization have to look like to support drawing down that debt. And then also come up with that debt paydown plan. So the article, like I said, goes into much more detail on those topics. If you're interested in doing a deep dive, I highly suggest you take a look at it. Again, the authors are Ashok Vasa and Galina Stancheva, and you can find that article on LinkedIn. All right, so what is some of the business value from eliminating the debt? Well, I've got a report here from McKinsey that says that in one case, companies are actively able, in managing their debt, they're able to free up engineers to spend 50% more of their time on work that supports business goals. That's kind of important, having your people focusing on things that matter. And also, a CIO of a leading cloud provider told McKinsey that by reinventing our debt management, we went from 75% of engineer time paying the debt, the technical debt, which they're calling a tax, to 25%. So as you can see here, there's people, process, and technology implication, and lots of value to the business overall. So what are some of my key takeaways? Well, number 1, does your business organization have a vision or a North Star? What are they trying to accomplish? What are their goals? Are there things they're trying to do that they can't do today? Then is there an inventory for all the technology solutions? And what is the business value for those technology solutions? Meaning that if there is a technology solution out there, how do those solutions align with the North Star? Which technology solutions could be considered technical debt? And this can be very difficult because many times you have to make business decisions based on what the business wants to continue doing and what they are willing to cease doing in order to eliminate that technical debt. So these decisions aren't easy. They're very difficult, but they must be made and managed in a life cycle format if the company is going to maintain a low debt ratio. And then, is there a plan to pay down the technical debt? I love it. This is all about action. We need to have a plan. So my recommendation is, if a company or organization cannot provide an inventory with metrics on the technology solutions, then it's time to develop a technical debt management plan with KPIs to pay down the technical debt. Well, that's all we have for this edition. We'll see you next time.